It's Daniel Alley. I'm just gonna tell you straight up. I'm at Disney World, okay? And I was in Orlando, Florida. I said, why not take a trip, right? If you're here, you're here. And I like to see things. I like to learn the business. I like to discover things. I'm probably gonna say it again later in the live stream, just for those who are joining. But today I want to talk about abundance. Abundance is important because what is the opposite of abundance? Opposite of abundance is poverty. It's dejection. It's absence. Absence of wealth. Oh, look, there's flamingos over here. So a lot of times people accept poverty because they accept a potential loss that they're about to have. They're anticipating loss all the time. Like, they want to get another job, but they're anticipating that they're going to lose the job that they have. Or they anticipate another opportunity. Here's a little flamingos here. We're at Animal Kingdom. And there's a lot over there, back there. So they anticipate success, but at the same time, they're also anticipating failure. All right, that's what happens. They have faith, but at the same time, they have worry. And faith and worry, they cannot coexist at the same time. Okay, faith and worry, there's no way it can happen. Like you can't say I'm gonna be a billionaire, but then you're worried about your bills all the time. Right? You can't say you're gonna get the best woman, but you're talking to lesser women or men if you want the best man or woman, right? Whatever. You can't say you want the best job, but then you're sticking to minimum wage jobs. Okay, like faith and fear, they don't work well together at all. They never did, they never will. And that's why there's some people that you wonder, how do they get so much abundance in their life? It's because they don't entertain failure. They don't entertain poverty. By the way, this is the tree of life, they call it. There it is right there. Animal Kingdom, Disney World. Doing it for more of a business purpose, to study, to see what people, because as a motivational speaker, I have to understand what is the propaganda all about. See why they cry to the mascots and kneel down and buy overpriced items. And being a person of culture and seeking wisdom, I always try to understand everything, right? So today we're talking about abundance because a lot of times people don't think they can even come here. And if you don't think you can come here, well, guess what happens? You're not going to end up here, right? Like there's no way you're going to ever get to your goal if you don't think you can get it. Like let's say you want a Rolls Royce. Do you think you can get a Rolls Royce if you don't believe you can have it? Of course not. Like I said, you can't get a sexy man or a woman to marry you if you don't believe you can go talk to one. This is how it works. They're not just gonna come up to you and befriend you unless you're very pretty and you're highly desirable or very handsome and you have money. Right? So you can attract based on your disposition, based on your current situation and how you are, prepared up to now, but it's how you consistently prepare that determines where you go. So if you want financial independence, well, the best thing to do is to prepare for financial independence. If you, like me, grew up in poverty, you have to do things that get you closer to wealth. Like for me, I remember going to, even at the time, for me, big stores were like Macy's and JCPenney, and actually buying a shirt for the first time. And it was like a low price, but for me it was a high price. It could have been $20, but for me it was like the most. Then I wore that shirt, I felt rich, and I realized abundance can be attracted if I continue to do things like this. So I bought my next shirt and the next one and the next one. And eventually, I said, let me move up. So then I walked into Nordstrom and other, nice stores. And I said, you know what? This is pretty cool. But But these shirts are $100. These are 5 times more. And I don't know if I could afford them. But instead of me saying I can't do it, or I'm unable to, and it can't happen, I started thinking, like, how can I make this happen? All right? Like, you don't write yourself off and say I can't do it, right? You don't say it's impossible. You make it possible, right? You ask God, is this something that I deserve to have? Is this something that I can absolutely get? And in a lot of ways, he ends up saying yes, right? Because if you have the desire, what does Psalm 37:4 say? Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So I remember buying a $100 t-shirt. I actually don't even do this anymore. I don't buy like expensive clothes like that. It's a waste of money. And it's like people don't even realize it, you know? Like I buy designer stuff once in a while, but I don't dwell on it. That's not what I live for. I live for the kingdom of God. But you know, once in a while, if you see a good piece and it's like crazy good and you can't walk away without it, then you got to get it, you know? But at the time, you know, I'm talking about over 10 years ago, I was thinking like, how do I attract more wealth, right? I have to make it happen. So I bought the $100 t-shirt. I wore it. I actually used to make videos in it back in the day. And I realized like, yo, this is pretty nice, man. This shirt is soft, supple. But then, you know, I was like, let me get it in a different color. So instead of blue, let me get purple. Let me get green. Let me get black. Let me get white. So I kept buying these shirts, and then eventually I realized, you know what? This is cool, but clothing, there's a limit. You know, there's a limit to how much you can have, how good you can look. Like, you really could style a $30, $40, $50 outfit and make it look like the best. You really can. Like, I've seen people do it, and I've done it. And, like, the reality is that, like, when you're out there, people don't know. People don't know, right? Oh, check out this, the fake mountain. This is the stuff that people believe in over here. See it back there? So, Animal Kingdom, Disney World. In case you're wondering, Orlando, Florida. That's where we're at. So, like I said, you got to believe that if you want something, you can get it, right? So let's talk about cars. How did I start? Well, I remember looking at cars, and my parents always told me, you know, buy used. My dad helped me a lot with buying cars in the beginning. And his advice is great. If you want to be mediocre. I told my dad, like, Dad, I like this car, right? And at one time I ended up buying a car I didn't like and a color I didn't like. And even though he gave me good advice, the car was very good, had low miles. It wasn't what I wanted. But as an 18, 19-year-old, I settled. I trusted Dad. Dad was right. For that time, it helped. But one day I saw a Mercedes in a parking lot, and I said, this car does not make sense to buy. It had high mileage, and it was also an older car. But I said, this is exactly what I wanted. And I bought it, and I had it for 1 year. Nothing ever happened to it. Nothing didn't break down or anything like that. And then I realized, like, you know what? Even though my family had told me, you know, getting this kind of car is impossible. You know, like, no one in my family had a Mercedes. I made it possible, you know? There's 100,000 miles on a car, man. But no one even thought it was possible. Now, when I drove the car, it didn't look like it. It didn't feel like it. Eventually, I had to trade the car in, which is what I used to start my business, because it did have good equity in it. It was S-Class. And S-Classes is the best, basically, Mercedes you can buy. And I even sold it to a drug dealer, not trying to, but he gave me like the highest price that someone would pay for a car like that. I said, all right, cool, I'll take it. And then I eventually took that money and I started my business. But the bottom line is that Mercedes turned into another Mercedes that was newer, had lower miles. And then eventually I was able to buy cars brand new because I believed that it could happen. I believed that it was a possibility in my life. Now, I remember the first time I bought a car that was over $100,000 brand new. I had it custom made. I remember thinking to myself, like, this is kind of crazy. Like, you know, if I told my dad this is what I did, he'd be like, you spent too much money, son. But the kind of money I was making justified that purchase, right? And me being conservative actually with cars, I realized, like, it's not really about that, you know. Like, I don't buy cars. Like when I buy a car, I don't spend a third or a fourth of my money like most people do. I don't even spend a fifth. I spend like a tenth. So if I make $1 million a year, let's say, I'll buy a car that's $100,000. Like, and for me, even that's too high. I don't think it's wise to spend that much money on cars until you finally make that kind of money. But again, you have to believe that it's possible. You have to believe that you're unstoppable. You can't get a brand new car if you don't think that you deserve anything less than, like, if you say, I gotta buy a car 30,000 miles and up, then how are you gonna get close to a new car? You can't. Same thing with a house, right? You can't go into a negotiation for a house expecting to lose the bid. There's no way. You're never gonna make it. You're never gonna be able to get the kind of car you want, or the house you want, or the wife or husband that you want, or the clothes you want, or the location you want to live in, if you're always expecting loss. All right? If you expect that you're going to miss out, or that you're going to lose, or that you're spending too much and you're justifying and it doesn't feel right, and in your nervous system it feels like something is wrong, then it's never going to work. Right? You have to keep justifying to yourself. This is a process of mental conditioning. You have to justify to yourself that eventually what I'm buying right now is going to be worth it, right? So the way I did it was I justified. I said $100,000 car, 4 years, for instance, was $25,000 a year. As someone who, made 7 figures, I'm like, that's easy. That's ridiculously easy, right? Like $25,000 a year when you're making so much money is like nothing, right? Even when you add property taxes, gas maintenance, and it runs up to like 35, 40,000, it's like nothing. And that's me being conservative, right? I'm not saying I was always conservative. I didn't start out conservative. But I had to learn to be conservative, and I had to learn how to, accumulate more abundance in order to learn the value of being conservative with my funds and with my decisions. So when I go into a house, I go in with the expectation that I have what it takes to purchase this property. I don't go in thinking like, oh, if someone else wants it, they can get it. Or if I offer a lower amount, they're not going to accept it. No, I'm going to offer the amount that I feel is right. So let's say, for instance, it's like $1 million. I could offer $900K with the full expectation that they're going to give it to me. And then I just give it up to God and I say, God, if it's right, you're going to make it happen. And many times, the deals work out. Every deal works out like that. Same thing with like quoting a price. Let's say you charge, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, or even $5. If you're selling something with the anticipation that you're not going to get the deal, then that's going to show up. That's going to show up in how you sell and how you serve, right? Everyone is going to know. They're going to be like, this person doesn't really believe in what they're selling. They don't really believe in what they're offering. So I don't know if I should buy from them. Like, I'm not convinced because they're not convinced, right? You can't sell a product and service that you don't believe in. You have to fully understand what it is that you're giving. And you have to be all in, right? You don't sell a product or service that you're half-hearted about, wishy-washy, right? There's no iffiness in success. You can't be iffy about your goals and what you want, right? You have to be totally infatuated, right? I'm gonna sit down a little bit here. You gotta be, in a way, obsessed, right? You don't sell properties, for instance, as a realtor, without understanding who's buying, without looking at the neighborhood, without assessing the market, right? You don't coach people on how to lift weights without understanding the muscles. You don't offer a service and say, if you want it, You say, sir, Mr. Jones, Miss Jones, I believe this is the right offering for you because it's obvious that you need this training for the next 12 months. And if you want to lose 100 pounds, this is how you do it. And you make that offer so clear and understood that it's undeniable value for them. All right? That's how you attract abundance. You attract abundance by being abundantly minded. All right? I'm at Disney World, by the way. Something just flew in my ear. So if you want to have more success of any kind, how do you increase your business, let's say? You got to think about it. What do people want? What am I offering? Right? I had a guy trying to sell me something for a vehicle. And he's like, yeah, you could do it. I'm like, you're not going to like ask me for the sale. You're not going to like say you should do it or you must do it or I'll make it easy for you or here's a timeline. He's like, yeah, this is what we do. That's all we do. So I'm like asking the questions. I'm like, man, you should have laid out everything for me. Made it easy for me to make the decision. Like, sir, it takes X amount of days. Here's the warranty. This is how it works. These are things that can go wrong. But if they go wrong, you can always redo it like this or like that. And then you make it easy for the customer to say yes, right? You don't make it seem like it's impossible or difficult, right? The reason why like people like Jeff Bezos and Phil Knight, who owned, Nike, and other great entrepreneurs make it is because they offer convenience. They offer convenience to their customers. They make it easy for them, right? Jeff Bezos delivers it to your door. Right? He doesn't run the company anymore, but he delivers the Amazon package to your door, right? If you're in China, Jack Ma from Alibaba, he gives you like the best priced item and is brought to you easily, right? Walmart, Sam Walton built a system, and the convenience of the system is to give you basically, well, it used to be 24-hour service, but give you service in the way that you need it with unquestionable value. Okay? Like, for instance, if you see a bag of chips is $3, he's going to have another brand that undercuts that and says, I'll sell it to you for half price, $1.50, the Great Value brand. And not everyone likes the Great Value brand, but the people that do, he's still making money off of them. Right? So you have to attract money. You can't create the great value brand with the mindset that no one's going to buy it, and who's going to want this? We want the corn from Green Giant. Right? Or we want only name brand hot sauces. I like that stuff, but sometimes people want the cheap stuff. Maybe they're on a budget, especially in this economy, right? So abundance is about making it easy for people, but also making it easy for yourself, believing that what you want is actually out there and that you can have it. Like when I started booking trips for myself and for business, I was like, this is hard, man. This is such a big decision, even if it was cheap. I'm like, this is, even like my first hotel I booked, I remember, I'm like sweating bullets, man. I'm like, this is huge, right? Because, it's a big decision. I was like 21 years old at the time. I never left my parents' house, never did anything like very big on my own. And then I'm like, this, but after you do it so many times, it's like easy. Oh yeah, let's take 2 weeks out here. Let's go to a different country. Just get the passport, get everything ready. And then boom, you're gone. You just do what you want to do because you're already there mentally. You already set yourself up for your desires and you're truly going after it. Right? But if you're wishy-washy, you're like, I could. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, the Bible says. And if you're double-minded and you don't know what you want, well, guess what? You're going to have to do what other people want. And what other people want is never going to be better than what you actually want. Okay, that's how it works. Unless the person that you're, serving is someone that's higher up and you trust them in their leadership. So for example, if you're a wife and you're trusting the leadership of your husband, That's great, right? Or you're a kid and you're trusting the leadership of your parents, or you're at work and you're trusting the leadership of your boss. That's a great thing, right? That's you're in a situation where you're accepting that you're a follower and that you want leaders to take charge, right? You want them to do it because you're like, you accepted that you have a limited leadership capacity and you're willing to let others help you make those decisions. And if they're the right leader, then they're going to actually make decisions that are better for you in your best interest. But they have to be that. And you have to trust that. You have to ask the questions. And they have to prove it to you that they're working in your best interest. So, but if you are a leader, and if you are someone who knows what you want, and you're willing to go after it at full speed, then you got to fight for it. All right? You got to fight for what you want. Don't settle for the spouse that you think you need to have instead of getting the spouse that you want. And even if you fall into like a relationship, you might be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years into it, 20 years into it. And you might be like, well, I might as well stay with this person for the rest of my life. I've been living with them. I've been sharing a life with them. But if you know like more than 50% of your life is not happy because of them, then you're just settling. That's not abundance, right? Abundance is preparing for the best. Poverty is preparing for the worst, right? Poverty is like you're going to get a check on the 1st every month. So you're preparing to run out of money and then be ready on the 1st to receive another check. That's what poverty is. Poverty is saying like, I'm going to have this car and this car is going to break down on me and I'm just going to have another way to buy another car. That's poverty. Poverty is like, I'm just going to settle for this person, these people, these jobs, these opportunities. And then whatever happens, happens. Hopefully something better shows up. I don't know if it will. And then you're not really working on it, right? How many people are actually tweaking their resumes? How many people are applying and trying to gain greater leadership skills? How many people are actively training their mind, their body, their spirit to get what it is that they really want? Now, there's times where you're in relationships and the other person isn't growing fast enough. And maybe you guys started off, you're ambitious, the first 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, it worked out. But then suddenly they start turning against you, or they're just not keeping up. You're working out, they're not working out. You're reading, they're not reading. You're applying, they're not applying. You're creating, and they're debilitated, right? You want abundance, and they want poverty. You say, let's go out, they want to stay in. You say, let's build a business, they're like, let's save money. And there's a difference between, being conservative and splurging and things like that. But if you know that you're being called to do more, but you feel stuck, it's probably because you're preparing for loss. Like, you might be with a spouse and you don't want to leave them because you know deep down that it's going to be some form of loss, right? And you have all these fears that come in. Oh, I got to go to court. Got to fight for custody. Got to split assets. Got to go through the long process. I know someone else that did that. I don't want to do that. And all these fears start to infiltrate your mind. And then you suddenly you seize up. You seize up because you cannot unlimit yourself in that way. You believe in the fear. You believe in the lies. You believe in the difficulties. Now, it's very smart to prepare and understand what you're getting yourself into. I'm not saying go jump into a business. Or just go marry the most beautiful person. I'm saying write out your pros and cons. All right? I'm not saying everyone is built for wealth. Not everyone is built for success, and massive success, that is. And a lot of money. But write out the pros and cons. Like, if you know you're someone who can't handle stress and pressure and take risks, then starting a business and making a lot of money is not for you. Because you already You're already determining that you're not cut out for this. You already know. You're like, it's not for you. Deep down, you get a little bill, you get a little pressure, and you feel it. It's difficult, right? It's like, it's too hard already. And if you feel that already, then business is not for you. Doesn't mean you can't invest. Doesn't mean you can't start something on the side. Doesn't mean you can't work a second job or a third job or support entrepreneurs. But it means you need to evaluate further, right? Sometimes people just look at others and like, I wish I had your life. I wish I could be like you, but you don't have to be like someone else. You just have to be yourself. Okay? You have to be who God created you to be. So if you want abundance, you have to determine by talking to God, what is it that he wants in your life? How does he want it? Right? How does he want you to have the things that you know you ought to have? It's a deep question, a great leadership question. You know, I have to make decisions on everything. I could be stronger, I could be slimmer, I could jump higher if I wanted to, but I have to make decisions on how I want my fitness levels to be. Right? If I want more stamina, then I might have to cut out my leg workouts. I might not be able to train as much on my legs because of the time that I have allotted to these things. Sometimes you have to sacrifice because of time, because of energy, because of the current situation that you're in, because of the space that you have. But sometimes there's no excuses. Sometimes you could say, you know what? I have a little space. I could stretch every day. Or I don't have all the books, but I have 5 books. I can start with 1. Or I can't get all of Daniel's 15 books, but I can get 1 and start reading. Like sometimes people are like, oh, Daniel, I can get all your books. I'm like, if you think you're going to get all the books and you don't get 1, how are you going to read 1? Right? So it is about the management and the balancing of things. And you get to determine how you control the final results. Right? When it's up to God, you know, he's the one that really determines it all. But you can't blame him if you're fat and you're trying to be skinnier. You can't blame him if you're weak and you're trying to be stronger. You can't blame him if you have been stuck in poverty for a long time when he's been telling you to get richer. And he's looking to promote you at every single juncture of your life. Okay, you have the opportunity to be better. He's not there sitting there telling you you can't read books, you can't get educated. He's not there preventing you from taking courses on public speaking or reading a dictionary. He's not there stopping you from creating more friendships and being a nicer person. Right? God is not prohibitive of all these good behaviors that we're talking about. But people blame God all the time. They act like a victim. They act like, you know, it's if I had this and I had that, I would do it. Man, just work with what you have. Not all the stuff you don't have. Don't think about the things you have not of. Think about the things you have control of. Think about the things you can do, not the things you can't do. And when you take care of the things that are controllable and give up the things that are uncontrollable to God, then everything will work out in your life. That's what faith is all about. Faith is saying, okay, I'm going to do all the things I can control. I'm going to take control of all the things I can. And I'm going to give it the things that I can't. That's what faith is all about. Right? It's so easy. Faith, so simple. Do the things you can and delegate the things you can't. And let God take control of the rest. How easy is that? Faith, right? But faith plus works, or faith without works, is death. All right? But faith with works is life. Right? And that's what I'm saying. You take control of the controllables and you say, okay, God, these are the 5 things I can control today or this week. And then you start doing them. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to get results. Right? And you say, God, these are the other things that are way over what I can control. And he says, don't worry, son. Don't worry, daughter. I'll take care of that. I got you. I know exactly what the situation is. I created the situation. But I want to see how far, this is how God talks. I want to see how far you're willing to go, what you're willing to do. And this is exactly what Abraham had to do with Isaac, right? This was a controllable thing that he had in his hands. Isaac could have been slaughtered. Abraham's like, I could just slaughter my kid. And God's like, do it. Like, go up there to the altar and sacrifice your child for me. Right? And see, Abraham is an abundant-minded person. Abraham is so abundant-minded that he said, okay, I'll do it. I'll take the risk and I'll give it up. I'm not worried about loss because I trust in the boss. All right? When you trust in the boss, you can never be worried about loss. You can never be worried about what you're missing out on. So he pulled the dagger over his head, and right before he did it, God said, hold on. Change of plans. I wanted to see what you were willing to do. And if God did it back then, don't you think he's doing it again right now? See, God is always testing us. He wants to see our faith. He wants to see what risk we're willing to take, what place we're willing to go, how much we're willing to spend and invest on his kingdom. And it's not just money. Money's a big part of it. But he wants to see how far are you really willing to go? What are you really willing to do to serve me? Are you really putting the kingdom of heaven first? Because if you are, I'll reward you. That's what God is saying. He's like, if you're giving me all that you can with the anticipation of the faith that I gave you, that you're going to get all that you want, then I'll give it to you. That's what he's saying. He's like, but are you willing to do it? Are you just talking? Or are you walking? Are you believing? Or are you deceiving? Right? Not everyone is believing. Not everyone has the faith to assume that if they give up one thing that they're going to get something better, right? I knew for me that I had to give up my job at the time when I was 22 years old to start a business. I knew it. But it didn't make sense financially. Financially, it was like maybe the dumbest thing you could do. Because you're basically saying, okay, God, you want me to go from thousands a month to nothing a month? To see if it works? I don't know if it'll work. But because you are God, I'm trusting in you. Right? I'm trusting that your decision is the right decision. And even though the first month was a struggle, I eventually broke even. Instead of making $2,000 a month, I started making $5,000 a month. Then $10,000 a month. Then 20, then 50, then 100, and then beyond. You know? I've made millions. I remember the first time I made a $300,000 a month. Couldn't believe it. Actually, I could believe it. That's the thing. I could believe it. I knew that everything was possible because I believed it. I trusted that God's provision was leading me as I carried along in this mission. That's what Abraham did. That's what Job did. That's what Solomon did. That's what David did. David said, instead of me killing Saul in the 2 opportunities that I had, instead of me preparing for loss and taking the long way of doing things, he could have easily took the easy route out. He could have been like, if I kill Saul, I could just easily get promoted. But he said, I'll wait. I'll do exactly what God is going to say, what he wants me to do. And I'm going to make the decision based on what the king wants, God, versus what I want. Because, ambitiously, humanistically, it crossed his mind. He's like, I could easily take Saul out and get to that position if I really wanted to. Right? There's a lot of things that we could do and sometimes feel that we should do, but we don't do because we know that God is he wouldn't be pleased with it. It might give us a temporary reward if we did it, in the physical world. But in the spiritual world, it does not give us the exact result and the gratification of doing that deed that we know we ought to have. So, the beautiful thing is that God gives us directions every single day, even if it's little. And sometimes the direction could be just wake up, get off your phone, go to work, put a smile on your face, be happy, help others along the way, right? And if you're more advanced than that, then he gives you more directions. He says, okay, now you know how to help others along the way. Help this specific person in that way. Use this gift and make sure that the person that you're helping is benefited, right? And he makes it so clear, he makes it so obvious that you have to really understand it. It becomes increasingly easier because you're speaking to him all the time. You have a relationship with Jesus Christ, right? Not everyone has a relationship with Jesus Christ. In fact, most of the people here in Disney World, 99.9% of people don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And I'm not making up the number. I'm going to tell you straight up, 99% people in this world don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Because the world at large, they don't trust him. The world at large cannot see all the things that he's asking them to do. Okay? The world at large would not even believe that he's going to do the things that he's saying that he would do to them. Lips are chapped. Got to make sure to oil up. Lubrication. It's very important. There it is. Right there. Right, so a lot of things that I had to do in my life did not make sense. Like I had someone in business that I really trusted, and midway home from a flight, they decided to rob me. And this person, I trust them all the time. I showed them off every single day. I loved them with all my heart. Everything I could do, right, for this person I did, above and beyond. But because they decided that they wanted money, they decided to screw me over. They decided to deviate from the plan that God had created for us. And there's nothing I could do about their disobedience. Like, you can't control how much someone else obeys or disobeys. That's the one thing about life. You might want your wife to obey your husband, or your parents, or your siblings, or your co-workers, or your friends. But if they're choosing the path of evil, that's on them. How are you going to intervene and create a relationship with Jesus Christ when they never wanted one in the first place? See what I'm saying? How could you say, okay, you, my friend, shall only obey here on out? You can't do that. Like, you can't determine someone else's obedience. You can't force them to have the desire to serve God. People will tell you that they serve God. They'll act like they're holy. A lot of times when you talk to people, they'll say, oh, I go to church. Oh, I read the Bible. Actually, this last month, I heard a lot of people talk about the last 30 days. Oh, everyone reads the Bible. Everyone knows the Bible. But when you actually talk about the Bible, no one really has anything to say. No one really knows what it's about. Right? Like, they say, oh, they read the Bible, they know what it's about. But what is it really about? Right? Can you have a conversation on it? I've seen a lot of people, even ministers, right? Like, Christians want to talk with me up until a certain point. Until I start actually talking about the Bible and talking about faith, they can't go any further because they don't have it. They don't have it. They're not who they say they are. A lot of false prophets, false preachers out there, false evangelists, false street preachers. They want to act like they have all this bold faith and that they're doing big things, but they're not at all. But you shall know them by their fruit. You shall know them by what they do. You'll see it. It's very clear. It's very obvious, right? So abundance, like I said, is about having discernment about all things. It's about seeking wisdom and truth and knowledge in all things. It's not denying the facts and withholding the blessings that you know you ought to have. Right? Abundance is not picking the lesser car or lesser house or lesser clothes or lesser spouse or lesser opportunities because you feel bad or you feel guilty or you don't feel like you deserve it. Okay? Abundance is believing in the highest and the greatest and the loftiest, right? Jesus Christ turned water into the finest wine. He didn't turn water into the mediocre wine. He didn't turn water into the above average wine, right? He didn't turn water into like the bare minimum wine, like, oh, the stuff you get from the box. Ew, yuck. If you like wine, you know what the finest wine is, right? The finest wine is $100. You know, you could get some for less, but 50 is where it starts to get good, dollar range, and 100 is like where it's really good. 150 is, you know, you're getting a really good wine there, and 200 and up is like fantastico, the best, right? So, and he said six pots, 30 gallons each, right? An average of 20 to 30 gallons, but let's say 25 is 150 gallons of wine. And you turn water into the finest wine, right? So scholars say $300,000 to $500,000 worth of wine. If you do the math, and you know, you break it down, they don't usually measure wine by the gallon, but if you did, and you broke it down by the liters, and you know, you understood the measurements, you'd be like, that's a lot of money right there. And that was his first miracle. He wasn't even ready. He wasn't even ready, right? He wasn't even ready to create the abundance that he already was going to do. It was already predisposition for him. So Jesus Christ wants us to have the finest wine. Why would you settle for lesser when you know you deserve more? You know, there's times when I'm like, I can't do the $20 wines anymore. I can't do $30. I can't do $50 wines. I can't do $100 wines. I only want the finest. I only want the best. Right? I can't do inferior products and services. You know, once in a while, you have to come across it. Once in a while, you have to drink bad tap water. You know, if you're not someone that like worships the best water, you know, sometimes you have to have tap water once in a while. There's no way to avoid the inevitable. Once in a while, you have a bad meal. It happens. Once in a while, you'll have a bad conversation with someone that tells silly stories. Once in a while, you have a person that's argumentative, and you gotta kind of lash out at them so that they know their place. But not every time, right? You're not stuck in situations that you cannot be delivered from, right? You're not a stop sign. You're not in stagnation. You're not, you know, still. So abundance is knowing that a lot of opportunities are opening up this year. Abundance is knowing that you can actually work with me if you want. Abundance is believing that you are getting way closer to your goals, and that the goals that you set are real, and you will be accountable to them. Abundance is trusting the process, is believing in the faith that you already have. And thank you guys for reading my books. I appreciate it. I see the comments down here. There's a lot of them. Can't address them all, but yes, you have to love the Father more than you love yourself. That's abundance. It's the greatest goal. There's no physical property that is worth more than that, right? Even your kids are not worth more than trusting in Jesus Christ. Even though a lot of people would say, oh, you know, would you take God or would you take your family? People say family first. That's the motto, right? That's the motto of America. That's the motto of life. Family first. But the reality is that is Jesus Christ first. God is first, right? Family is not first. Now, someone could misuse this. They could try to use this against me. And they'll say, oh, he says family's not first. Well, as a believer, as a true trustworthy Christian, I believe that God is first, right? God first, then family. Like, the order cannot be mixed up. Because if you say family first, then what's going to be family? If family's first, you know what's next? Money is next. Because you put family first, and now you're worried about money. Because you want to put family first so much, you're going to do everything you can to provide for them. But as you're living your life and you're providing for your family, you're doing all this stuff, what comes after that? Solving problems, right? dealing with the emergencies of life, dealing with the pushback of trying to provide for your family. But if you put God first, then your family's taken care of. You put God first, your career is taken care of. You put God first, the problems that come up from helping your family is taken care of. So that's the priority. That's how you actually do things, right? You don't have to worry about your health if you're doing everything you can to stay healthy. If you're eating right, if you're exercising, if you're playing the cards right, you're doing everything you can, it's all going to work out. So anyways, I appreciate you guys. Today I'm at I'm at Animal Kingdom. I was going to say Magic Kingdom. Animal Kingdom, 500 acres. I'm here for exploratory purposes, seeking the wisdom of God, seeing why people do the things they do. As a motivational teacher, I find it in my best interest to learn the way God wants me to learn why people are doing the things that they're doing. So, if you guys are in Florida and you want to meet, let me know. I'll be in Washington, D.C. very soon. Then Baltimore, then off to, a whole bunch of other places. But opportunity is all around you. Abundance is all around you. Success, happiness, wealth. Right? Just because you love God doesn't mean you can't have wealth. Okay, it's a misconception. People talk about the camel in the eye of the needle. It says it's not impossible for the rich man to get into heaven. It says it's difficult because when a man is very rich, or woman, they put their trust in things. Like I said, it's family first, and then opportunities, money, and then the problems of life, and then they get so consumed after that. Because there's already so much to take care of family, and it's already so much to do the work to do that. And then when you have problems on top of that, that's when it's like overwhelming. I mean, those are the three main things. But if God is first, like I said, all things are carried over. All things are handled. So if you want to connect with me, reach out to me at info@danielalley.com or Mr. Daniel Alley. Bubbles around me. Mr. Daniel Alley at gmail.com. Okay? Appreciate you guys. Always preach the gospels when you can. Always trust in the Lord. Even if someone said, oh, you're in Disney, it's an ungodly place. I know that. But one thing about Disney, I'll tell you, is that they don't make it look ungodly. They make it look godly. They make it look like you're walking into like a majestic place. And even though that's not how I feel, studying that makes me realize like the enemy deceives people. He wants to make the good look bad and the bad look good. And it's not really that bad. I mean, it's created for kids. But it's not a place that I would recommend someone to take their family to get to know their kids, unless you're doing it one time. And, but if you're doing it all the time and you're getting sucked into it and you're buying all the trinkets and you're getting consumed into it and it becomes an act of worship, that's when it's the problem. You got to know how to hold things lightly instead of holding it tightly. Okay, sometimes people hold things so close to their life, to their chest, that they worship it. Like a lot of people, they hold like designer items closely. And I saw a woman like loving on her Birkin purse. I see people loving on their cars, loving on their houses. That's all they think about. That's all they want. And if that's all you want, that's all you get. If all you want is your kids, that's all you're going to get. You're not going to get the kingdom. If all you want is your career, that's all you're going to have. You're not going to have time for your kids. If all you want is health, you're going to be a health nut. That's all you're going to have. You can put everything else first except God, and that's all you're going to have. But if you put God first, you're going to have everything. Right? You put the kingdom of heaven first, and all things will be added unto you. Not some things or most things, but all things. And some people will hate you for it. You will receive persecution for putting God first. Because when you put God first, what it does, it transmits a higher level of faith that other people know they don't have. They don't know what it is about you. This is why persecution comes, by the way. Persecution comes because you are exhibiting a faith that they know nothing about. You're doing something that, and not just doing it like superficially or doing it for the first time, but you're doing it over and over and over again, to the point where, like, when someone meets you and you're year 7 or you're 17 or you're 77 of having faith, they're extremely fascinated and they're beyond words. They don't even have words. So if they don't know what it is, they're gonna attack you, right? They're gonna be jealous. They're gonna have envy, because they're like, I see something that this man or woman has. They don't know it's Jesus Christ. They don't know it's the Holy Spirit. They don't know it's God. But they're gonna know that something is deep within you, and that you are an unstoppable person. Doesn't matter how you look, doesn't matter what job you have, you can be the lowest of the lowest. But if you have faith, even the richest of the richest are going to be jealous of you if you're the lowest of the lowest. That's why the Bible says the lowest of the lowest will receive the kingdom of heaven. Right? Those who are last will be first, and those who are first will be last. And if you trust in God, if you understand the wisdom, you see the vision, and you have humility and faith the size of a mustard seed, then everything is going to work out to your benefit. All right, you're going to have it all. You're going to do it all. You're going to see through the nonsense. You're going to be prepared in all areas. There's never going to be a deficit. You're never going to get cut short. You're going to have it all because you're able to see only the good. You're never entertaining the loss. You're never thinking about, oh man, if I try this, I might lose it. No, right? You're going to buy the car in full faith. You're going to buy the house in full faith. You're going to preach the gospel in full faith. You're going to take the trip in full faith. You're going to ask the woman out in full faith. You're going to push the man to accomplish his goals in full faith because you believe in them, right? That's what love is, right? What 1 Corinthians, even just read 1 Corinthians, the whole thing. But I think chapter 7, all of them are good. Chapter 7, chapter 11, chapter 10, chapter 14, right? But read all the Bible. Read as much as you can, and read 2 Corinthians too. There's so much to learn. There's so much to grow. There's so much to develop. So, love is kind. Love is patient. Love is forever, right? Love is trusting. Love is knowing. Love is connecting. It's serving. You got to give. You got to give without expecting. Right? You give. Like when I serve people, I don't ask how much can I get out of them. Right? I ask what can I put into them. And I put as much as I could into people, and then eventually I get what I need out of whoever. And it may not be like the first 10 million people I reach. Maybe it's the next 10 million people that want to benefit me. So you might not help person, or you might help person A, B, and C, but person X, Y, and Z is the one who pays you, right? Is the ones who help and provide. Yeah. So anyways, guys, much love to you. Appreciate you. Gotta go. Take care. Always do big things. Always trust in God. Always put him first no matter what. Jesus Christ is Lord. See you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.